everybody. Jamela here, the social services maven. I'm like the social service homegirl. Peep you the game, let you know how to get into these roles and positions and just grow in your career. So today we are going to talk about the difference between a social worker and a social services case manager. Those are two different roles. So, social worker is a training, there is schooling involved, there's certification involved. They are the clinical team that diagnoses an individual's current experience, whether that be depression, schizophrenia, delusions, just whatever that can look like for that individual. They are the ones who do the assessments. And they have a licensing number which backs up that assessment, which costs them money. And if it is not done appropriately, they could be at risk of losing their licensing. So, social workers also have therapy. They offer therapy either on an individual basis as group therapy, or they also work on what a lot of people don't know is clinical trials sometimes, depending upon the funded study and what they want to look like. A clinical social worker can come in as the, not so much the head of the program, but they can come under as an assistant. There's a lot of good money in that too. You should look into that if you're a social worker. So, you, who I'm talking to, who I know, are a social service provider caseworker. So what do those roles look like? They look like a personal service coordinator. They look like a residential service coordinator. They look like a case manager. Their role can be identified as an outreach worker. All of those roles are great ways to get started in the field. And so go back. Eligibility specialist. You don't have to have a degree for that. You can get promoted also with no degree. It's a lot of work. You might have a caseload of 200 people, but you can still be impactful because there are individuals in the world who are experiencing maybe immediate homelessness, and maybe there's no food. There could have been a death in the family. There could have been someone that just got out the hospital or had a psychotic episode. So don't pay attention to the titles when you're looking for these roles. Look at ways to be impactful and to get in. And I really do believe that working in a welfare agency is just a great way for you to see the immediate of what's happening off in our society. And I will use situations can turn into experiences for people. And like, you have to be respectful and very, very mindful of the person that's coming to you. It's not necessarily the person. You are not meeting the person. You are meeting that individual's situation. So those are different things, and a different way of a mindset, especially when they're like going off on you, because that could be, some people say. So to recap for you, a social worker is clinical. They have an educational background and they have a licensing depending upon who they are. You, if you're here at the social services maven, either you want to build your career or you want to get into social services, are a social service case manager. You cannot diagnose anyone, even though you might know. You might be like, this is looking real schizophrenic right here. That's not your role. You work in a strong relationship with the clinical team. You're typically the first point of contact. So you are the first, you're like the foot soldier, but you're also a representation of the organization in which you are working with. So it's very, very important that you are mindful of how you're showing up to work that day. Since diagnosis is, but what that full person is experiencing, how they're showing up to you. Are they showing up hungry? So we need to connect them to some food or pantries. Are they halfway clothed or overclothed during the season that they shouldn't be? So if it's summertime, do they have on a jacket? Is it wintertime and they only have on shorts? Because that's letting you know that there's more than likely a housing issue, or that could be a form of psychosis. The voices could be telling them not to get dressed. Or it could be that they don't have any clothes. So that's another referral that you need to make. And then number 3, you're the one building the relationship. You become the advocate for that individual, because you have to advocate within your team. The clinical social worker doesn't know who that person is. You do. You have to take them on that journey. So in our next video, next Wednesday, we will be speaking about community engagement and engaging from a case manager's position. Like taking that person who's coming through the door for the first time through the journey of getting referred or placed off into a program that could change their lives. So remember, social worker, clinical. Social services, caseworker, you don't have to have a degree. So, as always, Social Services Maven is about being impactful in our communities and being of assistance to our community members who are disadvantaged, who cannot speak for themselves. I'm all about you bringing yourself to work. I'm all about you being present in your role and knowing that you are enough. You don't have to change your way of being to be successful in social service.